Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the American Masterminds podcast.
Each episode, we invite extraordinary guests who are masters of their craft. They're innovators, entrepreneurs, and of course, motorcycle enthusiasts who have made their mark in the world.
They share their stories, insights, and hard-earned wisdom, giving you a front row seat to the strategies and experiences that shape their successes.
So sit back, grab a drink, and get ready for an exhilarating ride as we dive deep into the minds of these exceptional individuals.
Along the way, we'll uncover powerful strategies, gain fresh perspectives, and explore the limitless possibilities of what it takes to be an American mastermind. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the American Masterminds podcast. I am your host tonight, Topher Sheeler. I'm joined by Mr. Rob Adams.
What up, what up?
And we've got Alec Langdon up on the soundboard. And we have a very special guest tonight for you, ladies and gentlemen. We have Alma Merrill, the founder of the Clozer Cult, with us here tonight. And let's jump right in. This is going to be a lot of fun,
What's up, guys?
Thanks for coming.
I'm excited to have you on here. Alma had me on his podcast about a year ago, almost to the day. Really.
Actually, exactly a year ago.
Yeah, I was
Yes.
thinking about that on the way in here, and it was like one of the good experiences. And I've known Alma for 12 years, 10 years. Long time.
Yeah, a long time.
But in passing, it's not like we've hung out together and, had a sleepover or anything like that. But there he is over there doing
Not that
cool
we
stuff.
want anybody to know about.
Right. We're not going to put out on the podcast.
But admired him from afar. And I'm going to start with a quick story about Alma, if that's okay.
Please,
so
yeah.
Kind of set a
I love
precedent.
stories about myself.
So I'm a brand new real estate agent, and when you're new in an industry that you have, you're surrounded by giants. It's easy to walk up and be like, man, when I grow up, I want to be like Alma Merrill. When I grow up, I want to be like George. I want to be like John. I want to be like, it's easy to hang David. I mean, I had a lot of
There were some
giants.
unbelievable people in that organization.
in our world.
Yeah.
And Alma had been in a little bit longer than I had, and had been kind of drinking the Kool-Aid a little bit longer than I had. And my company was bought by the company that he was already a part of. And so I kind of came into this larger
That's right. You came
organization.
from Elite, huh?
Yeah.
That's right.
Came from the small little mom and pop shop to like this big national organization. And Alma was showing up. He'd sit in the front. He was like, he knew his lines. He knew the scripts and stuff like that. And I had this big listing appointment come up.
Okay.
And I'm a brand new real estate agent. You remember this?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, I was terrified because this was like a million two back then. Probably now it's probably a 2.5. It was a big house up on the east side, And I was terrified. And so I went and I said, and this was hard for me because I was an older agent. I'm not like a young kid right out of high school. I was already kind of seasoned, right? And I went to Alma and I said, dude, do you have time to go with me on a listing appointment? And he's like, yeah. Like, there's no hesitation. He's like, yeah, this is what it looks like. And this is what we're going to do. And I'm like, here's the address and here's the deal and here's the thing. And he's like, great. You want to drive or you want me to drive? I'm like, I'll drive. And so we roll down there. We go into this house. And this guy was a professional, like a real estate, kind of like a fisherman. Like, he just wanted to see what we had to say about his property. Like, he wasn't a serious seller.
Right.
And I hadn't pre-qualified him like I now do. Like, I didn't ask the hard questions. He was just like, yeah, come in. Let's talk about real estate. I'm like, okay, see ya. Alma didn't ask me that. He didn't judge on me or anything, but I was terrified. And I just was like, I'm just going to listen, and I'll do all the lifting. I'll do all the work, all the paperwork. I'll shuffle it. I just want to learn. And I was like, cool. So we go down to this appointment, and we walk in, and this guy, he's a rich old guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We went in, and we sat in this big, huge living room with the giant windows looking at the mountains right there.
Looking at the valley,
Yeah.
looking at the mountains.
Just gorgeous place. And here's my lesson. We sat down, and I was just like shaking. And you were cool as a cucumber. Maybe you weren't on the inside, but you were just completely cool. And I had this moment of like, this guy is doing Alma. He's not doing George. He's not doing John. He's not doing all these other people. He's doing the best Alma he can do.
Right.
I had this moment of like, well, I don't got to be anybody except for me. I got to be a good me. I got to be the best me I can be.
You just gotta be Rob.
Bam! And I had this it was like this huge, I woke up that day. Like, we drove back and we didn't get the listing, by the way. The guy was just
He was
just wasting our time.
He was burning our day.
Yeah. But I just had this moment of like, I got to quit trying to be all these other things. Because you weren't wearing a suit. You were wearing a very nice shirt and slacks. You looked really professional. Mm-hmm. But I was suited up with my tie. I was dressed up like someone else in our company. I was being someone else in the company.
Right.
And I had this, it was just like this super moment. I remember calling my wife and being like, babe, you're not going to believe this. I got to quit trying hard to be other people and just be the best Rob I can be.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
Oh, well, you did tell me that
I
story.
shared that story with you.
But yeah, I didn't know that, and I didn't remember that until you reshared that with me before the podcast when we talked last time.
A year ago. And so
Yeah.
it's just a tremendous amount of respect for you and the character that you cut, man. It's just, it's good to be around someone that's being themselves and doing that at a very high level well.
Yeah.
And there's no shame in the game, man. It's just a good thing. And so as I watch you, and I've been around you now for a long time, kind of watching from the outside, you are on a path of continuous like self-improvement. And when I say self-improvement, it seems to me, and tell me if I'm wrong, but it seems to me like it's a path of almost self-discovery more than the improvement.
Definitely. Yeah.
Like you're more and more Alma today than you were even then.
100%. Yeah.
And so tell me why? Like, what is driving you to this? Because this is gritty work, brother.
It's gritty, man. So a little bit about my backstory. I grew up in a family. That's kind of why I came up with the name Clozer Cult, right? So I grew up in a family that was not normal in the way that they raised their kids. Meaning, like, we didn't go to school. Like, not homeschooled. I mean, like, no schooled. And so, yeah, their excuse was that we were homeschooled, quote unquote, but I couldn't read till I was 12. I couldn't spell till I was 21 years old on my Mormon mission.
What?
Like, yeah. And so I didn't have any education. When I came into real estate, I mean, I had just learned how to spell my first, maybe sentence of words within about 2 years before I even started in real estate. And so my story goes way back to where it was like, and I was told by my mom growing up that I had this disability. She would tell me, you have a learning disability, you can't read, you won't be able to spell, you won't be able to do the things that the other kids can do. But then on the clusterfuck flip side, she would say things like, I believe in you, you can do anything you put your mind to. So my brain was always twisted as a kid,
Yeah,
like,
that's a very incongruent place to be.
oh, big time.
I'm broken, but I can do whatever I want.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You can do whatever you want. You can play in the mud. You can play with Tonka trucks, right? But you can't go do what these other kids are doing. You'll never go to school. You'll never have a profession. I remember when I was a kid, I wanted to be a cop. But I knew that I can't do that without an education, right? You have to have a degree of some kind, and you have to have a high school or whatever education. And I just knew those things weren't possibilities to me as I was growing up. And as I was growing up, I started to realize, like, my life was different than the other kids. Like, they had activities, they did sports. After our church seminary classes, they went to school and learned things. And I always felt like a freaking idiot. And then when I was, getting older, growing up into manhood and started to, like girls and stuff, I remember girls like confronting me on shit. Like, you can you read? Because when we would get in certain situations, I'd be like, no, I'm good. And then it would be like, can you read? Dude, how embarrassing at 16 years old to have a girl you have a crush on ask you if you can read. And then you're just like, well, yeah, I can read. I know how to read, Well, what about spelling? Can you spell? And it's like, shit, no, I can't, like I couldn't do this stuff. And so growing up has always been a little bit of just like what you said, like it's not even like becoming the best version of me. It's like a redefinition of who I am, because I've had all these stages of, okay, I can do this. Now I'm going to do this, right? Like I can do this job, right? Yeah. If I got a job, my first job when I was like 12, I guess, something like that, 11, 12, something like that. And I was digging holes, right? Okay, I knew how to do that. I learned how to dig holes and plant trees. And so for $4 an hour, I knew I could do that. And then when I got older, that guy hired me to work at his amusement park that he owned. The guy that hired me on the whole, digging holes and planting his trees and stuff. And so I worked at his amusement park. But I remember working at his amusement park and just like having scenarios with the general public that I couldn't navigate, because I didn't understand what they were talking about. And so when I say, when I call it Clozer Cult, I call it Clozer Cult because I feel like I grew up kind of in a cultish environment. Now, I don't believe my parents intended me to grow up in a cultish environment, but I had to stay inside the home until 3:15 when the other school kids came home and walked up the street. I never went to school. I couldn't read. I couldn't write. I didn't have any socialization or, activities. And so
I gotta stop
yeah,
you. I gotta
what?
stop you. I gotta call time out for just a second. So, like now are your folks still alive?
they are. My dad is. My mom has passed. Yeah.
And so I'm sure you've asked them. So like what was the thinking? Like what was the reasoning to keep you from going to something that cost nothing?
Right. The reasoning was when my older siblings were in school, they had disagreements with the way the school board taught the kids. Right. It's a never-ending story. Like that's still the case with a lot of people these days, right?
Sure.
We always have these disagreements with how the public school system operates. So back then they got really pissed off and pulled all their kids out of public school and said, we're going to do homeschool. Well, what ended up happening is my dad went to work every day.
Sure.
My mom was mentally and emotionally unstable, having 8 children.
Oh,
And so
And not the capacity just to even do it.
no capacity to teach children at all.
So how old are you?
I'm 44.
So I'm
I
thinking
look
about
like I'm 32 maybe though.
not even that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and
Yes.
so I think about homeschooling because I'm looking into it now. I've got a daughter. We're thinking about homeschooling, and I think about the formation of homeschooling, and
Yeah.
it's a relatively new. It's kind of the Wild West of education.
Yes.
And so I think about a young man that at your age, this is happening in the 80s now,
Yeah,
right?
right.
And there was no such thing as a format of homeschooling. It was
No.
just like
Yeah,
And
we were a part of like a homeschooling association, right? That
yeah.
was all like in our area. This was in Ogden, Utah, when I was a little kid, and we just that was really our only socialization. I mean, I remember the mailman knocking on the door to deliver a package,
yeah.
and we opened the door, and I remember him being like, "Hey,
What are you doing home?
yeah, how come you guys aren't in school?" And he looks up the staircase and he sees all of us up there. Why aren't you in school? Oh, we knew how to lie. My parents told us if anybody asked you why weren't you at school, tell them you're off track.
Huh.
I don't even know what the freak off track was. I still don't know what off track is, but it was
Well, you were off
something.
track.
It was off track. And so we would tell them we're off track. And I guess what it was a scheduling thing where like the schools let the kids out of school for some,
Yeah.
I don't know, PTA.
Year-round school. It's year-round school that are on different tracks.
I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I still don't know what that means. So maybe you can educate
I
me.
could tell you.
Yeah.
We won't now, but it's that's an interesting thing. So okay, so now here we are. You're on your LDS mission,
Yeah.
and so you go to the MTC, and in the MTC, that's a reading intensive culture right there.
Right.
That you're supposed to
I'm
read every
reading
day.
on probably a 2nd or 3rd grade level, maybe.
Now I've been to your office, and you have shelves of books. Like you've got
Yes.
books everywhere. You are a reader.
Now I am. Yeah.
And so I was raised to be a reader. I saw reading in my life. I was raised around a reader. And
Right.
so reading all the time. And so I think about that. Like, how did you make the shift into...
And I still compensate, right? So all those books on my shelf, I've read most of them,
Yeah.
but I did it through Audible.
Oh.
And then I buy the book and put it on my shelf as a token of glory.
Gotcha.
makes sense.
All right.
All right.
So, but it's I like to Audible things because, you may love to read. I don't love reading books in the words. Can I do it? Yeah, I can. Very well, I think. And I can even spell now really well. But back then, when I was learning and I was trying to learn business text and things like that and identify what the hell business meant and what it was, I would just listen to books on tape at that time, and then books on CD, and then books on Audible, because I've been doing this now for almost 20 years.
Yeah.
And so, but it was interesting when I look back and all the growth that I've, all the recreation of my life from that time, and then you add, till now, and the things that I've been able to accomplish, and I feel like it's quite a gift, Like when I served my LDS mission, you brought that up. That was interesting because I couldn't spell.
Where'd you go serve now?
So I served in New Mexico.
Okay.
Yeah. So Albuquerque, New Mexico mission.
Yeah.
99 to 01, baby. Yeah.
Back Brigham Young sent you, brother.
Yeah, he sent me.
Sent you to New Mexico for a reason. I'll clip this out later, but nobody else can read there anyway. You're fine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Albuquerque.
You don't have to clip that out. That's true.
Yeah.
They would tell you that.
All right. So I didn't know that about you. That's kind of unbelievable. I'm going to just be honest with you. You're so well spoken. You're so put together. I would never, and I don't mean to diminish anyone who cannot read, because it's something that you learn. It's a learned thing, but you're just so incredibly well spoken. Like, I've heard you speak publicly, and I've heard you on the phone. I've heard you have high level conversations, and there is no hesitation in your delivery of your thoughts.
Well, I feel like I don't know how to describe it, but I remember when I went on the speaking journey of how to learn how to speak, I just went to the best mentors. Now, not going to public school, I didn't have any expectations of what I was capable of or not. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
There was no limitation.
Right. No expectation and no limitation.
Right.
I was kind of
White
like
belt
not
mentality.
super naive to the fact that, in order to be a speaker, you need to have like all this experience or all this whatever. And really, I think my message to that point is that anybody can do kind of anything they want. What's the word I'm looking for? Organically and logically, if they put their minds to it.
If they really want it.
If they really want it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is a lesson I'm learning over and over and over again. I have people that say they want to, but then they don't.
Right.
And so they don't really want to. Like, I ask myself that all the time. Things will happen that I'm intending to do, but it doesn't happen, and I think to myself, I must not give a shit about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's nothing personal. It just is not something that really, because I would get it done.
Yeah.
If it was important,
Right.
I would do it. That's amazing. Wow, Alma.
So, there you
New
go.
dimensions.
You learn something new.
Yeah, incredible.
But,
so
yeah.
when I first met you, you told me that you worked in radio for a little bit, which
That's right.
I think radio. Here we are on a podcast. I think any kind of entertainment business is fascinating.
Yeah.
Because you have to really be on your game. You have to be really. It's a relationship-based business, right?
Yes.
And so tell me about that.
The route to radio.
The route to
so
radio.
radio was cool. So I worked on at 101.9 The End. So
The End. I love that
101.9 The End.
Yep.
With Jimmy Chunga.
Yeah.
And I worked on the morning show with him as a guest host.
What was his co-host?
Well, he had several. He had Chunga and Mister. Do you remember that?
Mister was the one that's when I got in.
Yeah. And so when I came, he was with a guy named Tyson. So Chunga and Tyson. And I was kind of going into kind of maybe even replace Tyson. Tyson didn't like me very much. And we were right at that kind of end of 101.9 The End. And then KSL came and bought the station. And then right when KSL came in, they shut us all down because we were too edgy for their brand, and killed the show and shut off the show and sold the radio station.
Man, that was my favorite radio station. That was kind of the end of radio for me, to be honest with you.
Really?
Like afterwards, I was just like,
Yeah.
I got to jump around and listen to like the good music, but
Yeah.
I used to listen to Mr. Chunga.
Yep.
He was an interesting dude. Is he still alive?
Yeah, he's still around, dude. Yeah, he's a stud. He's got a podcast. It's called Radio Ronin. You guys got to listen to it. It's so freaking entertaining, and he's got a lot of the characters that were previously on the morning show. He's got them on the show on Radio Ronin, and he's out of Vegas.
Oh, is he?
Yep.
Oh, that's cool.
He and I are still in good communication, and we text and call and talk. And
Man, he talked about he got his neck. He had neck surgery.
What?
Yeah, he had this neck surgery. He's like, he always had a problem with
his gobbler.
Oh, it's double digit.
Yeah. And so he went and got it done, and he talked about it like, this is the most pain I've ever been in my whole life. Don't ever do it. He's like, I don't care what you look like. You look good. And
It doesn't matter.
It's not worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he talked about it in detail, like, you're not going to believe the pain. And then this is what happened to me today. And then they took the things out. I can't even. So funny.
Yeah,
It was,
he had a facelift and a gobbler tuck and all that stuff.
yeah, I remember just the gobbler tuck because he was like explicit about it, and it was kind of hilarious because he's just like, Just be fat. It's okay.
It's okay.
And the way I met him was when I knew I wasn't going to go to college. All of my friends moved up here to Utah and started going to college. Well, that eliminated my social group down in California. I was actually living in California at that time. So at about 8 years old, I moved down there, and I basically grew up in California.
What part?
Little country town called Devore, kind of rural up in the San Bernardino Mountains.
Okay.
And so anyways, my friends all moved up, and they went to Mormon school, Mormon college up here at BYU and UVU. And I was like, well, I might as well just go to Utah. There's a lot of hot chicks, right?
Yeah.
So I move up, and I just start working this job, like delivering oxygen tanks, driving a truck around. And then I kind of fell in love with this girl. And I got introduced to this other guy who did these events, and he was putting on the world's largest pillow fight. And I'm like, dude, he's putting on like Guinness Books of World Record, like legit Guinness is coming, everything, and he's throwing this. It's on the news, and I'm like, I gotta meet this guy. Like, he sounds like my people, right?
Yeah, that's someone you gotta know.
Yeah, super social. And so I link up with this guy, and then he and I partner on this pillowcase thing. That I just kind of faked it till I made it, right? And so I kind of went in, and he's like, yeah, dude. And I said, I'll help you market. We'll do this. I had all these ideas, and he goes, dude, I want you to be my partner. Like, let's do this. So we started a company called, we threw the world's largest pillow fight. There was about 150 people there, so it didn't turn out. And through that massive failure, we fell in love with each other. And he was a great partner of mine. We started utahparties.com. And we were like, dude, we got a couple hundred people at this event. Can we do this at at a dance, like a party, right? So we started marketing the same way we marketed the pillow fight. And our very first event was like 300 people.
Wow.
I'm like, holy crap, dude, that's cool. $20 a head. Or actually, I think it was $7 a head is what that was. And then we're like, could we do a $20 a head event? What would that look like, and what would it have to offer? And so we put this together. We figured out our numbers. We identified how many flyers we would have to put out in Utah County and the surrounding areas in order to equal X amount of people to come. So we were expecting like maybe 700 to 800 people to show up. And that first event, we called it the Insomniac Dance. And we had like 1,500 people show up.
Holy cow.
And we're like, holy shit, dude. We like, whoa. And so we're like, okay, can we go bigger, right?
What?
So then we rent the McKay Event Center, which is now the UCCU Center at Utah Valley University.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, that's the next step.
That's the next step. And so we put this event on, and we do the Inferno dance, okay? And so we put this Inferno on, and we had like 2,500 people show up to the Inferno dance.
Holy cow.
Kidding me?
And then we're like, okay, we're getting close to the end of the year. New Year's.
Yeah.
And the company that had done New Year's before that had fallen out and not doing it anymore. And so we're like, okay, how do we get 5,000 people to show up at $20 a head? Okay, so we had musicians, we had magicians, we had bands playing a skate, like a half pipe on the dance floor. We had radio DJs, dude. We invested so much money into this, and we had 5,000 tickets sold at the door for our New Year's Eve event.
Get out of here. What year is this?
This is, oh man, what year is this? 2002 or 3? Something like that. Yeah.
Wow.
No, or 4? 2004.
Okay.
2004. I think
So
it was
right
2004.
before social media. So this was...
Yeah, so we had Facebook had launched right after this.
Okay,
Yes.
all right.
And so then once we had Facebook on board, it became a lot easier to market. And then right before we threw our next event, we had a falling out, he and I. And we're good now, but back then it totally burnt our company, and we dropped everything. But in that one night, we made $80,000 at the door.
Wow.
In like cash money. we were holding plastic trash bags, black plastic trash bags, and trading people $20 bills for wristbands to get into the venue. And when they walked in, they had lasers across the floor, they had fog, they had lighting, they had sound, they had a whole stage where you go upstairs and watch bands. We had Imagine Dragons there and Neon Trees before they were big. They were still small town. We had all these little bands, magicians. We had a country dance room. We had hip hop. It was awesome, and we had a main dance floor. And then I met my girl there, and we got married. I got into real estate, but then after I divorced her, my first wife, after 5 years, so I met Chunga. Chunga was looking for somebody to do his haunted event for Halloween because he's a big Halloween buff, right? And he's like, do you know anybody? He asked a friend of mine, and my friend goes, yeah, dude, the best party I've ever been to was thrown by this guy, Alma. And he's like, if you can find him, he's the one you want to work with to do your event. And so he hits me up, and I'm like, he's like, hey, is this Alma? And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, wait, is this Alma the Younger? And I'm like, yeah, yes it is, because I used to call into his show as a fan.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, hey, it's Alma the Younger. He'd be like, Alma the Younger, what's up? And we would chat, and I would throw out something, what's happening, hot stuff. I'd throw out something on there, and we would laugh, and then he'd hang up on me, right? Because he goes to the next caller.
Yeah.
And so I was known, that my name was known on there. And he's like, man, that's awesome. It's you. And he said, can we meet for lunch? I want to talk to you about doing this event. And so we did this event, and it was very successful. It was beautiful. The lighting was perfect. The sound was perfect. Everything was awesome. It went off without a hitch. And he's like, dude, I love working with you. How do I work with you? I said, have me on the show. And he goes, all right, dude, you're in. Let's do it. So he starts having me on the morning radio show.
Like a regular guest.
Yes. And I'm like, dude, I'm going to kick freaking Tyson's ass out of here,
I didn't like Tyson.
Dude, I was not a fan.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. He didn't bring it.
No, he didn't bring it. And he was a nice guy.
Sure.
Really nice, but he did not bring it on the radio.
Yeah, he wasn't funny. He was just like, he'd be in the background. He was the straight.
Yeah.
And Chunga would be dropping like some bombs, and he would just be like,
yeah.
Come on, dude.
Well,
like, participate.
And he would be offended. He was always offended by Chunga,
Oh, was he?
Yeah, and you can't be offended by Chunga. Like, you can't be offended,
it's part of the shtick.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So that's how I got on, and it was a short-lived thing. I did it for like, I don't know, a couple seasons, and then I was off, but it was fun while it lasted.
That's awesome.
It's amazing. So now here we are in real estate.
Yes.
We arrived.
We've arrived
at the business, and you're part of one of the largest organizations or most successful part of this organization throughout the whole country. Like,
yes.
This office that you're a part or were a part of was a machine.
It was the number one office in the
United States. Amazing.
Number one office, and then the number one office in the world, for several years in a row,
and the leadership there. These guys, I'm not kidding. The leadership there forever. I don't care what anyone says. Huge respect for these guys. Like, amazing. I've tried to build a few organizations. I've tried what they accomplish and what they even are still doing is remarkable. And so we were in this culture, and there was like these just giants in real estate, like the biggest in real estate in the state. Were like just walking through the office, just like regular dudes, just mortals walking around. You know what I mean? And you could say, hey, bro, you want to go to lunch? And I took a lot of these guys to lunch if they would even like listen to this. I was like just a new.
Well, that was the great thing about that culture, is that the Everest culture, right, was one of like acceptance and inclusion and love and sharing. They talked about mindset, skill sets, discipline. They talked about your thoughts lead to your emotions lead to your actions lead to your results, and that was the stuff that we just had just shoveled into our heads every single day. Every morning, and that's what caused us to succeed on such a high level.
So they had this morning meeting. What was it called?
Ascent.
That's right.
Morning Ascent.
Ascent, and it was just wicked early. Like, what time would we be there?
7:30.
7:30. We're there, geared up, ready to go.
Ready to rock.
You're not in your flip-flops, chick. You're ready to work.
Yeah, you're ready to freaking rock.
And they start out with these mantras. I succeed because I act on my
goals. I'm an optimist.
I am an optimist. Yeah. I drink water. Right? There was
I drink water every day.
There was
provide energy. Yeah.
But it was a page. It would be a whole page of things, and then there was closing.
I love my life. I am grateful and thankful. I control my thinking. I believe in me. I am enthusiastic. Yeah.
So he's not just throwing out random ones. He's actually going in order.
I'm going down the list.
Yeah. Did you see my face? I had a total flashback.
I lived and breathed that entire environment for 18 years, dude.
But so in the morning, you're not just reading those things, you're shouting them.
Yeah.
There's a room full of us. We're standing up, and you're like, I succeed because I act on my goals. And just as loud as you can. And then you go, there's a Tony Robbins one, now I am the voice.
Now I am the voice.
I will lead, not follow. I will believe, not doubt.
I will create, not destroy. Yeah. I am a force for good. I am a force for God. Defy the odds. Set a new standard. Step up. Step up. Step up. Yes.
Bananas,
dude.
Look, I just got goosebumps.
I did too, dude. I did too.
And you would walk out of that office just like, I'm here.
Yeah,
I'm ready to rock. And
yes.
I could get on the phone and I get people tell me the worst stories, be mean all day, and I'd be like, "Thank you." Boom.
All right.
Boom.
Next.
Boom,
Yep.
boom all day because I would leave there hyped.
Yes.
And this was the culture that we were germinating.
We grew up in.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I just remember, like, the first time that I went, I am like, "What is going on?" And then we would sit down after doing this thing, and No, we would do the thing in the morning. We would do the shouting, the mantras, the Tony Robbins thing. There was one other thing that we would do, a commitment.
The self-confidence formula.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll share this with you. I still have them all in a book. I actually review these things regularly because they're so powerful.
I have them down here,
Yeah. And so we would do that, and then we would run around the room, high-five each other.
Yep.
And then we would sit down, and Uncle George,
Yep.
man, he'd get up and he would drop some religion, like... This guy was like
what I thought was interesting was he would look around the room and he would just pick out people that needed adjustment, right?
Yeah.
Because he just knew, right?
And then he would put the message on, because if Alma was struggling this one thing, odds are good that there's going to be 2 or 5 other people in the room that are doing the same thing. And so he would talk to Alma almost like a one-on-one coaching, super. What's the word I'm looking for here? Like. You were being stripped down.
Yeah. Super intense. Very
vulnerable.
Intentional, vulnerable.
Is the word. And he would just kind of break it down with you, and you were in a place where it was like, okay, let's talk about this. And you would crying.
Yep, lots
of crying
every day. And then almost every day.
And then he'd be like, and so the lesson is, this is what we're gonna do. Is everybody with me? And we were all like,
yes.
Hell yeah, I'm with you, bro. And I would walk out of there, and I called it being Georged up. I've never told anyone that. I always used to say, what would George do? Yeah, WW. I wanted to get bracelets. What would George do? Easier standard, but still pretty high. And I love you, George, if you're listening. He won't be listening. He's got stuff going on, that guy. But anyway, I walked out and I would go to appointments all Georged up, and I would be dressed like George. And that's why my story with Alma was so important, because I would be Georged up, and I can't be George.
Right.
He's George. He's got it covered. He's got the whole account locked up. And I just need to be the Rob.
Because here's the thing. Here was the good thing about being George at the moment, right? Because you would go into this process and not have confidence, right?
Exactly.
And what builds confidence?
Success,
right? So an immeasurable amount, a pile of successes behind you is what builds confidence, and then the confidence builds character, and then the character builds you as a human, right?
Yeah.
And so if you don't have confidence, you don't have character, you don't have success,
and it never goes.
You have to be George.
Yeah.
So I remember getting on the phones and doing as he did.
Yes.
Right. Do likewise, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Do likewise.
Let's not pretend.
Let's not pretend. Do as I do.
Yeah.
Literally say what I say. Act like I act. My voice, like your voice, my voice.
Inflection, script, words, timing.
Yep.
All of it.
And then that would get me the appointment. And then when I went on the appointment, I would try to deliver success through closing them. And then I could go. Then I had confidence in my abilities, and then I could be me a little bit more on the next appointment.
Well put. So my first Georged up experience, I'd only been a real estate agent for like 20 seconds. I just knew a couple of scripts. He would come to our organization, Elite, like once a week or once a month, and we'd have a special like
George's here day.
Powwow.
Yeah, George is here. And I left that appointment, and I walked out. I went on my very first listing appointment, and I walked in, and I just channeled George.
His energy, his
I just
enthusiasm, his posture.
One of 3 things can happen today.
Either one, you will decide to list your home with me.
Number 2,
you'll decide not to list your home with me.
Or number 3,
you'll decide. What was that number 3?
We will decide that we shouldn't be working together because we're not a good fit, and I'm okay with any of these things.
Any one of those 3, yeah.
It's just like mounds of confidence, which I would have never, ever, ever said that kind of like level of confidence shit. Then I just dropped it on them. So here's what's going to happen today.
Yep.
One of 3 things. And I sat down, and these people didn't know that I hadn't listed a house. They didn't know. And I just sat down and I'm like, listen, folks, one of three things is going to happen today. And I told them this is what's going down. And they were like, okay. and then by the end, George would have this. Is there any reason why you and I shouldn't work together?
Yeah. Is there anything that would stop us from
That's it.
Is there anything that you don't like about my company? Is there anything you don't like about what I presented? No. And then is there anything that would stop us from working together?
And then if they said that, you got to that fourth one, you just took the paper and you'd be like,
all right,
sign right there.
Sign right here. Yeah.
Just like
Done.
balls.
Yep.
Balls.
I think that's a Zig Ziglar.
It might be. It might
Isn't
be.
it?
Probably.
Yeah.
And George will be the first to tell you, look, everything he learned from someone else,
Right.
and he just implemented it, right?
He really had a great talent of putting it together in a way that was learnable for me.
Yes.
Like I could actually, I could do that. I could say that.
Yeah.
And so I've actually gotten in trouble from being too scripted on teams that I've created. Like the agents would complain to my partner, I don't like doing coaching with Rob because he's too scripted. And my partner told me that, and I'm like, that's why I'm here.
Yeah.
Because your words aren't good enough. Nothing personal, but you've never done this before.
Right.
And so you just listen, just try it.
Yeah.
Well, it's not who I am. Exactly.
That's
the point.
And then George would, to that point, George would teach us what he called, you've heard of the golden rule, right?
Yeah.
What's the golden rule?
When you get the answer you want, shut up.
No. Do unto others.
Oh, do unto. Okay, all right. I thought we were talking sales stuff. Sorry.
No.
So do unto others as they would have you
Do unto you.
or that you would have them do unto you, right? Well, there's another rule above that. Do you know what it is?
No.
It's called the platinum rule. And the platinum rule is do unto others as they would have you do unto them.
That's right.
So you're being for them who they need you to be.
Yes, I forgot about that.
Yeah. And so that was a game changer for me in my business. And also reading the book Raving Fans also helped with that same I learned those two things at the same time, and it helped me understand that I needed to be for them who they needed me to be.
That's powerful.
And when I realized that,
Fans, listen to that. There's a nugget. Listen, that was good. We say that one more time. The platinum rule is.
the platinum rule is do unto others as they would have you do unto them.
Wow.
Not as you would have done unto you, because we're not the same people, right?
Right.
We're two separate. So I don't want to treat them the way I want to be treated. Okay, try to treat your wife the way that you think that you would like to be treated. Is it going to work? No. So why would it work in a business transaction?
Yeah, you have to treat the person like they need, like you would expect. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, and that's why you ask so many fantastic questions. And on my Clozer Cult podcast, I go over this too. I'll go over different questions that I ask people live on the air, doing actual for sale by owner expired cold calls, and I'll ask them questions because I always tell people the best conversations you have is with people when you're asking them questions. The highest level of rapport is built by asking fantastic questions.
Right. George would also say that your quality of life, the quality of life that you live is based on the quality of questions that you're asking yourself.
Damn.
Like these,
Yes.
you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
And so, man, and we would journal and we would write things in our journal. The one question that really pivoted me, if I can share it, Alma, is what am I unwilling to accept in my life anymore?
Yes.
You write that question enough times because it's not the same answer, right? Life is changing by the second. Man, just these questions, powerful stuff. I love this. I love remembering these things because those were all very formative. I know I'm a grown person, but when you're forming this, who do you need to be in order to have the success that you want kind of mentality?
You know what, though? It's kind of bullshit the way that people say that or understand that we're grown people. Because
What do you mean?
we are
It's not a destination.
We're a bunch of little kids just with more years under our belt. Our development started and stopped when we were around 8 or 9 or 10 personality wise in a lot of cases. And so I always tell people, look, we're just a bunch of kids growing up. That's all we are, really.
I've actually said that before. Like, I don't believe in adults anymore.
Right. It's
I don't think it's
just a bunch of kids
Just
growing
look
up.
at the number one thing that we do. We call each other and ask if we want to go ride bikes.
You want to go ride your
Right.
bike?
Yeah, and,
It's nice.
And some people may say, no, developmentally you don't develop till whatever. And that's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about like strategic thinking. I'm talking about our personalities.
Our core beliefs.
We are those little kids.
Yeah.
I can still relate when I close my eyes and I do a meditation and I think about that little boy who couldn't read and couldn't write, and I think about the no's I had to give and the things I had to pass up in life to get the next level in my existence and to just survive, that was me. And
Is that what's pushing
and
you, Alma?
that's still me.
Is that what's really driving the bus? Is this the escaping of that, the running away from that? Because
I just want him to be better. I just want that kid to be okay.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I do know. That's what's pushing
Because on
this.
top of that, when Dad was at work, Mom was really abusive to me. I was like her
Scratching post.
yeah. I mean, she had 7 other kids, and I just felt like I was her shitbag. And I thought I was the cutest fucking kid in the family, you know?
Still to be proven wrong. Oh, God.
But it was like, it was hard, man. I look back at that little baby boy, and I just think, man, that poor kid. But, it was like, she was probably bipolar, and she was probably, she had a lot of mental, emotional issues. And then she got in a car wreck, and then she got addicted to opioids. And so from the time I was about 10 till basically adulthood, I didn't have much of a relationship with her at all. I would never see her. She would sleep till 3 to 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And then when she came out, it was like, oh shit, I better be gone so that I don't draw her attention. Otherwise I'm going to get some issue.
In the 8 children, like youngest, where'd you fall?
So I was number 6.
Number 6.
Out of 8. So I had 2 little sisters.
Huh.
Yeah. I was the youngest boy.
And what's the age gap between you and the oldest?
Let's see. He's old as shit, and I'm still young.
All right, fair.
No, let's see. He was born in 69. So
Okay.
whatever, that's
54.
54. Yeah.
That is old.
Yeah. Super old.
Super.
Are you close with your brothers and sisters? Was this like a way that you guys bonded together, or is it now that you're out, you're out?
I would say so, yeah. My sisters hate me because I'm like the black sheep of the family, and I've left the church and all those types of things. And they've all but just completely released me from their life because they don't believe religiously the same way that I do.
Man, I'm sorry.
Yeah. I mean, it starts with the little stuff, like they stop coming to your invitations for Christmas and Thanksgiving and New Year's, and you're like, man,
I haven't seen that for a year.
yeah, why aren't they coming? Like, is everything okay? Yeah, it's great. We're just super busy. Yep, one Thanksgiving, oh yeah, we'll be there. And then 45 minutes before we're to sit down for a meal, they text, hey, we have, no shit, this is what she said in her text. We are sorry we can't make it to Thanksgiving dinner. We have to run some errands.
On Thanksgiving dinner night? Like,
What?
It was Thanksgiving?
Yeah. And then what I found out is they had actually planned another separate Thanksgiving that year.
With other family members?
With other family members, and had recruited them away from our house.
Oh, no.
And so I found out which family members decided to cut bonds with me and my wife and my kids. And so I'm really close with 3 out of my 4 brothers, and that's about it. Yeah, the rest of my sisters and brothers I'm not super close with.
Interesting. I'll tell you. So I've left the church, and it is hard.
It's hard. Yeah.
It's a hard thing to do, and I always think to myself, because I have some of my favorite people, and I've been out of the church now for 14 years.
Well, Rob, you're not supposed to leave the church just so you can be a swinger. Like, you need to have some type of doctrinal issues.
Yeah,
you
right.
know what I mean?
I didn't know I was a swinger.
It's a different
That's what
podcast.
Is
It's
that
a
the
different
rumor on the
podcast.
Dude, the first thing was, okay, when I decided to leave the church. And here's the thing. I subjectively looked at everybody that was a member of the church and wasn't a member of the church the same way while I was a member of the church.
Yeah.
I subjectively looked at them because I figured if somebody wanted to leave a religious organization, they had a reason, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't mean they're a bad person. They just have a reason. And so when I had my reason, and it was historical and doctrinal, those 2 reasons were deal breakers for me, that I just simply didn't want to be involved with an organization that had those specific things.
Right.
So my brothers called me up and they're like, hey, I heard you're anti. No, I'm not anti. I'm not anti at all. Like, not at all, right? I'm not anti-Mormon. I found some things out that I didn't know were true, and had I known them, I wouldn't have been a part of the organization.
Yeah.
That was it.
It just doesn't
That
align
was it.
anymore.
It didn't align.
Yeah. I always see people. So I have friends that have left the church and they are anti, and I'll say to them, you should just go back to church. Like, you are putting as much energy towards it this way as you would be if you were actually going. You might as well do something good with it,
Right.
Because there's some they're reading it all the time and researching it and talking about it. I'm like, you should just go back.
Yeah, and
because it's the same amount of energy.
As the outsider with it, it's so indoctrinated from the very, very beginning. We're talking about like foundational building blocks of who you are as a person that you're trying to change and reorder.
Yeah.
Like I've been around I guess maybe the Southern Baptists would be kind of similar, but not really. The Mormons have a real.
You have to be like Catholic. I would say, like, if you lived in Rome.
As
it would be,
as
as
an
a
intense
Catholic,
every week Roman Catholic, then it would be similar.
But even at that,
or like a Jehovah's Witness.
Jehovah's Witness,
yeah.
Those are called cults, but whatever. But
I mean,
it's a definition.
It's a definition.
I used to go to a real estate company that we would chant every day. You would say, perhaps. It was
the
a cult.
exact same thing. Yeah, it was
And
a cult.
I bought in, man. That was.
I drank the Kool-Aid.
I drank the Kool-Aid. Guzzled it. But here's the thing: is I'm not mad about the church. I'm not mad that I was raised in the church. I actually had a really great experience growing up. LDS, going to the dances, and being in scouts, and all the things.
The organizational and the social side was very important.
You know what
for me.
Service for me was a big deal. We were always doing service. I'm sorry,
No.
And it was just—it's a part of who I am still. I'm not going to give up the parts that are true.
Right.
But the parts that I'm no longer aligned with.
And those are just principles.
Yeah.
They're not actually parts of the church.
Yeah.
They're just principles.
Right.
And the church happens to teach as well.
I'm not mad about that. I also I don't vote a certain way because I don't align that way. It's nothing personal. It's just I don't align with it.
Yep.
No, what I was going to say is you also grew up in Texas, in Las Vegas, right? Not in Salt Lake.
Yeah, I
and
moved
what
to
I've
Utah
noticed, there's a big difference between the LDS church here versus everywhere else.
There's a culture difference.
Yes, massive difference.
Yeah.
And the church by itself, doctrine, anywhere else that I've been, it's a good thing. It really is.
Yeah.
The family values, living a clean life, all
great
that
tribe.
stuff. It's a great tribe.
Yeah. Again, those are
But
principles.
it's here
right?
where it's part of the culture, and it's more than just the church that you're going to on Sunday, right? It's every single day. It's every building block down to they've got a church at school.
Well, it's
all
literally
That's
down to
how it is
the
in
underwear
Texas.
that you wear.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where it becomes very demanding, right? It's a high demand religion.
Yeah.
Is it they tell you what you can and can't drink, what you can and can't experience, what you can and can't wear, even your underwear, and how much money you have to pay in order to get into heaven. There's certain things that now that I'm away and I see it from clearer lenses, I identify them really quick and I go, holy shit, I actually believed this my whole life.
Yeah. How did I buy into that? How was I such a part of that? When I say that I don't regret any of it, there's parts of it where I'm like, I don't know how I got my head around that for so long.
Right.
And not been like, because I was always the kid at the back that would like raise my hand in seminary, like,
Well, it's because you were sacrificing for good. That was your intention.
Yeah.
That's how you got your head around it, is that you intended to do and be good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you thought that that's what it meant to do and be good.
Yeah.
Is to abide by all these things and to stand for these things. As a matter of fact, one of the best books I ever read was by something Fielding McConkie. What was his name? Anyways, one of the prophet's nephews or something, or sons or something. Joseph Fielding McConkie? No, I can't. Yeah, maybe. So anyways, I'm reading this book, and he wrote this book. It's called Where We Stand. And his point was, look, if you're going to be a member of the church, you've got to stand in these places. You got to go to the temple. You got to wear your garments. You got to pay tithing. You're not just halfway in or halfway out. This is where we stand, and this is who we are, right? And I was like, dude, that's actually not a bad principle. And I still feel like I live that way. Like, look, this is where I stand. And when it became clear to me that I didn't align with the historical facts about the church, and that had I known those things, I would not have joined in the first place, which I didn't have a choice. I was born into it, right? But if I clean slated everything,
Started fresh,
and then somebody said, okay, based on this, and this, and based on what you know, would you join this organization? I don't care what it's called, Kennedy Nights, right?
Yeah.
Like, would you join this Kennedy's Kennedy Nights? No, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I wouldn't join it because they have this, and this in their history, and I don't subscribe to that stuff.
Yeah.
And so that's how I had to look at it in order to give myself a clean cut away from the organization, because it was so deep. It's still so deeply embedded in my brain.
Do you ever catch yourself? I'm glad we're talking about this. Do you ever catch yourself? I've got some principals that are running these programs that are running all the time, and I'll catch myself and I'll be like, now wait a second. I actually don't believe that anymore.
Yeah,
but I'm like,
yes.
but I'm beating myself up over this one thing, and I'm like, I mean, can I give you an example?
Yes, please.
This is heavy. I'm going to be a little vulnerable.
All right,
Let's go deep.
Yeah. The principle, and this isn't in the gospel per se, but it's in the culture of the gospel, is that there has to be a certain amount of suffering. There is opposition in all things. There has to be a certain amount of suffering in order for you to have success.
You have to endure.
Yes. You have to. You're not going to get anything good in life unless there is a price paid.
Yes.
And that is true-ish. It's true. Like, I have to put in the work. I have to. If I want to play in a sport, I have to.
All of your success happens outside your comfort zone, right? So
yeah, there has to be some suffering involved, but I don't have to continually suffer in order to be happy.
Right.
I don't have to be unhappy until one day I'm happy.
Right.
I can be happy.
Hey,
today.
It's okay. Stay in that shitty relationship.
Yeah.
Work it out. It's between you, her, and the Lord.
But it's
if you endure to the end and you die, then you'll be happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what I've done is I've robbed my ability to be happy today. I've robbed my ability to be successful today. And the truth of the matter is I woke up successful today. Ask anybody. Ask any of my friends. Ask my mom and dad, any of my brothers and sisters. I'm doing it. In my own perspective, nope.
Yeah.
Not good enough.
Well, and the other thing is they have a monopoly on happiness, totally, right? Like
right.
You can't live outside the organization and be happy.
Yeah.
Where will you go, right? Brad Wilcox said, "Where will you go?"
Well, what would you even do?
What will you do?
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck in the world if you
works
leave the church.
All on your own.
Yeah, you'll be alone. Where will you go now?
Yeah.
All of your friends are members.
Yeah.
All of your family are members. Where will you go?
It kind of leans back into that, like,
Whoa.
you're being kicked out of the tribe. Like, all of a sudden, like back in those early days, you know what I mean? Like, if you weren't in the community, you were kind of dead.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is a deep programming, right? Like, we all want to be included.
Yes.
And it really triggers that. Like, I remember feeling like a tremendous amount of fear
And guilt and
shame, endless. And I'll catch myself in that spot. I'm just driving along kind of, wait a minute.
Dude, I remember after
my life is so good right now.
I remember after I had sex with my girlfriend at 17, I thought I was going to hell. I thought that God was going to strike me down. I would not have an eternal family. I would not be connected with Jesus and with my family after this life. I thought, oh my gosh, it's over. Because in the church they say it's next to murder.
Yeah.
That sexual sin
Next to
is
murder.
next to murder. It's the same thing as
serious?
murder.
Yeah.
Yes. They don't say it's behind it. They don't say it's below it. It's next to murder. And so my impression of that sin at that time, what I thought was a sin,
You're done.
I thought, if
Damned.
I don't fix this shit,
Yeah.
I'm going to go to hell.
Confess, forsake.
Yeah.
Repent.
Yeah.
It's so weird. You know what you were saying, like whether you're in or out. My experience with them, I moved here when I was in 8th grade, okay? And there was like a 3-week period where I was the cool kid on the block. Everybody came over and said hi, and it was really cool. And it was like, oh, we moved from Wyoming. I knew all the neighbors, everybody up there, you know? So it was like, okay, well, we're making friends and whatnot. And I very distinctly remember my dad was out on the corner, and they invited me to go to church, and he's like, no. Absolutely not. You're not doing that. You can play.
Right.
Go play church ball with them. Do whatever you want.
Right.
And the second he said that, they never talked to me again.
Again, yeah. You
At
got
all.
cut off. Yeah.
I ate lunch in high school by myself in my truck. Like, I was the outcast from that moment.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
I never ate lunch in the lunchroom because I got tired of sitting by myself. I had like a barrier. And then I came in and I was like, I also was the starting quarterback. I was the catcher because I could flat out play my way to those. They hated me for that.
What?
My high school and 8th and 9th grade in high school was the most miserable time of my life.
Huh.
And it was because of this. They just, you're not going to be part of our crew. We want nothing to do with you.
I'd like to let you know, Topher, that the 8th and 9th grade are the most miserable part of everyone's
That's
life.
fair.
Yeah, just so you know, they're all assholes. Yeah.
Doesn't matter. This is your thing. Of course, no disrespect, but man, everybody in the 8th and 9th grade.
Yep.
Oh, God.
Yeah, we don't want to downgrade your emotion.
No, you're right.
but,
You're right.
But the 8th grade sucks. It still does.
And I'll be candid, I actually can't speak to that because I didn't fucking go to 8th grade.
What is 8th grade? Is that the 14, 15?
Yeah, because I got my driver's license. Yeah, so it'd been 14.
Okay, so when you're 14.
Yeah.
It just is a tough time.
Yeah. It's
Oh,
wild.
man.
Well, I'm glad we could talk open about that. I think that it's interesting having conversations because I remember looking back 5 years before I left the church, and I've been gone for probably emotionally 5 years.
Okay.
And actually not attending probably a little over 3 years.
Oh, wow. So this is a relatively
It's
new
super
thing.
new, yeah.
Okay.
But when I look back 5 years when I started, before that, and I started to question, I remember just accepting everybody's opinions as their opinions and being okay with it. Like it was
Drives me nuts.
it was interesting. Like it was a transformation because I remember trying to debate people on stuff, and then I had this sales leader when I was doing door-to-door sales in '97. We didn't go over that yet, but I did these door-to-door sales one summer, and this kid, he was just like, "Hey, bro, don't worry about it. Just freaking don't worry about it, bro. I'm like, who cares? Who cares?" Like that's what he was, telling me.
His mantra.
Because I was freaking out over something, trying to make it somebody else wrong, right?
Oh.
And he goes, "Who cares, bro? It's their opinion. Like, who cares? Let it go." And I was just like, "Shit, yeah. Why not? Why do I care, right?" And so I just started letting things go, and then I remember just kind of perpetually doing that in different times in life. And then people would say, "Oh yeah, you're really open and down to earth," right? That's what people would tell me. "You're really open and down to earth," and I'm like, "Yeah, it's just because I don't care about your opinion. It's yours.
Yeah.
I have mine, you have yours." So then I got along really well with politically different people and their views. I got really along with different cultures and their views. And then I served a mission and learned a lot of fucking weird people out in New Mexico,
Yeah. Yep.
and their views. And then I was like, came home from my mission and had these amazing people that were not members of my church who respected me for my views. So why couldn't I respect them for theirs?
We need more of that
Yeah.
in the world right now.
Yeah.
Like today. If I
Yeah.
could make one wish, that would be it.
And so I think that's probably one. If somebody said, "What's your superpower?" I'd say I'm accepting of all people's perspectives, opinions, and desires
Yeah.
for themselves.
For themselves.
Yeah.
That's you.
Yeah.
Good on you.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. I love that. The point is, like, why be upset about it? There's no being. I have people that are like, well, it's unfair.
Because it
And
makes you wrong.
I don't know. It doesn't make you wrong.
This falls down to the whole, can I do something about it?
Yeah.
Right?
The thought filter.
The thought filter.
Yeah. Is it true? Can I do something about it? And then take massive action.
Right. Well, and the tough thing, like my brothers, I know they had a hard time with it because if I'm right, then they're wrong.
Right.
But it doesn't mean that I'm right. It just means that I'm not doing what they do.
Yeah.
What they do may be right for them. Them being a member of whatever organization, church, business, whatever,
And it is right.
is right for them. Yes.
That's the key. For
Right.
them, that's right.
Yeah, and to them, they're like, no, it has to be right for everybody, because that's what we grew up learning, is it has to be right for everybody.
Part of the doctrine is a very black and white type of looking at things.
Yes.
And the further I've gotten away from the gospel, the more gray, and that might be because I'm just getting older. Just the less I know.
Right.
I don't. Well, that's an interesting perspective. I've never
Right,
thought of it
yeah,
that way.
yeah.
And I love to hear perspectives that aren't mine, because I've got my shit down. I've been thinking about it for a long time.
Yeah.
I want to hear what you're thinking
Yeah.
about, because that's new to me.
Yeah.
And so I think that has been tremendously liberating for me. And I've always been that way. Growing up outside of the state, I've kind of always been open, because my opinion was often the most controversial.
Yeah.
And so I didn't share it very often.
Or the smallest opinion.
Or
like
the
in
small,
Texas,
yes.
not a
Demographically,
big-
there was not many of us down there, and so I was happy to listen to other people and thought, no, that's true for
That's
you.
interesting, yeah.
The one thing that I take away from that is that there's always, it makes me redefine, makes me really rethink of what I think is true. Because what am I locked into? When I start saying,
Right.
I'm very careful with saying, oh, I know. When you start talking to me, I need to shut up. I need to just listen more and ask the right questions because I don't know.
Right. We don't know. And that was one of the difficult things, was just identifying that I actually didn't know a lot of things. And
it's okay.
being okay with not knowing those things. I've been right. I've been wrong in the past. I'm sure I'll be wrong again in the future.
Hell, I'm married.
And I
I'm
need
wrong
to be
most of the
okay.
time.
Like 99.9% of the time. Yes, Rob. Yeah.
Just own it.
You're all Annie, your crystals and shit.
Yeah. Whoa. My name is Rob Adams. I do not approve of this.
I do not approve of this message. Dude, my wife's the same way. She's got her crystals and shit.
Oh, man.
I'm like, all right, it's cool.
Here's the problem with that. I'm going to be honest with this now, shifting gears. Most of the time, they're right.
Most of the time, they're right.
It's
Yes,
infuriating.
they're right. Yeah.
Annie will she'll say some crazy shit, and I'm like, yeah, there's no way
there's no way.
that's
Yeah,
going
that
to ever
doesn't make
happen.
any
ever.
sense.
You're doing the whole Rolodex thing.
Yeah,
It's like,
that makes no sense historically. Like, there's like.
Yes.
In physics, it doesn't make sense.
Doesn't
and then
make
it
sense.
happens. It totally happens.
Dude, my wife's a Reiki master, right? And dude, she's like, yeah, you really need to ground yourself. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, no, go stand on that salt block. Go stand.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, what the freak's
Yeah.
a salt block? And I go stand. I'm like,
Yeah.
what the crap just happened,
Yeah.
dude?
She makes me walk around barefoot in the grass. You
Does
need
she?
to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need to go
I
ground.
need to go ground.
Okay.
Right. Dude, I'll tell you, like,
Grounding to a whole new definition.
completely, dude.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, dude, yeah, my energy changes when I do specific things and it causes a result. And my energy changes. Okay, now I will do that thing,
So Annie's a Reiki master as well. She teaches the class, and I've taken the class just to understand the vocabulary. Because I am being raised in the culture we were raised in. I don't believe anything.
Right.
And I'm just like
You don't believe anything specific, right?
specifically.
Yes,
I'm
right.
kind of skeptical about everything.
Right.
Not like overly so, but cool on you. But
Right.
I have to say, it's kind of some of the stuff that she does is kind of undeniable. Like the energy thing that she does and the shifting of energy. And I've done, and then as I became a Reiki and I learned about this stuff, and
Yes.
I'm like a Reiki, like
Practitioner.
Padawan.
Yeah, like a
Padawan level.
yeah. Uh-huh.
Not Jedi Master at all.
Right.
But I learned that I have no talent in it. I can barely feel my own feelings, not yours.
Right.
I can barely feel my own energy. Like I am so out of touch with this mechanism because I'm just going all the time and I'm thinking thoughts and I'm creating and making phone calls and convincing and doing until I'm exhausted. And then I go to bed and then I do it again tomorrow.
Right.
And away I go. That's me. I'm a creator, manifester. And she's just like this dynamic
Energy pusher.
energy pusher.
Yes. Yeah.
Energy pusher.
Yes.
Amazingly said.
Yep.
And so
Same thing with my wife, dude.
Yeah.
They're energy pushers,
Yeah.
and they're like,
So let it
I can
be.
push energies too. But here's the bad part of that. If they push negative energy, it's like really intense, right?
Yeah.
Like if they're in a bad mood or they're in a bad spot, and they haven't fulfilled, like gone with their own medicine, and they push negative energy, it's like amplified negative energy.
It's crazy. Also, here's one of the reasons I'll never leave Annie is because she's terrifying. That witch will cast a spell on
And
me,
her fucking crystals.
and my dick will fall off or something. We can edit that out. Please edit that out. I'm kidding, babe.
I'm kidding. Oh.
No, but I'm serious. I'm pretty sure she could put some magic on me that I would not recover from, and I'm completely afraid of something.
What might actually happen?
Of something that I'm skeptical of. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't make sense. How can I be I don't believe that. Don't do it to me.
Don't do it.
Oh man, being married to a witch. I didn't know that Jen was down that path. I know that they've traded before. Annie was telling me about that as I was coming here, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And Annie's talented.
Yeah, you know what? I think people are, just like if you feel like there's something that you're called to, right? An intention, a mission, a purpose, right? Like Thanksgiving Heroes, right? There's no one else that could have done Thanksgiving Heroes the way you did it. And I feel like the way that our wives are with those things, there's no one that could do it the way they do it. They're just drawn to it.
Yeah.
It's like, it pulls them in. It becomes a part of them. And it's like a calling or
Yeah.
a mission or
Yeah.
a purpose, right?
Yeah, they're spiritual practitioners.
Yeah.
And I never put that together. This is like a new thing for me. Like I realized, like I have a physical body that I actually put a lot of work into. I make sure that I'm
I
eating
can tell.
right.
Freaking sexy beast.
I can't even help it.
Oh my gosh, bro. Your definition.
I run the bam. I run the machine as best I can because this is it. This has got to get me to the very end, and I want to make sure I can do as much as I can.
You got to go to a hundy, bro.
Yeah, easy. I'm not quitting.
This is water, by the way, just so you know.
Diet Pepsi. I'm not gonna make it. So I have this physical body that I'm working hard to maintain. I've never considered my spiritual body, which in the dogma I grew up in, a spiritual body is common knowledge. We all have a spirit. We're all spiritual children. We're part of a spiritual family. So it's not a big jump for me to think that body sometimes needs attention.
Yeah.
And that's what she's doing. And when she put it together for me like that, I'm like, well, why isn't everyone doing this?
Right.
Because we're all in some way at some time spiritually hung up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
and
that's what she does.
which I think is nothing more than mentally, emotionally, right?
Yeah.
Like that's where the connection of our physical body comes in, as we call it mental or emotional. But mental is really our brain. Emotional is our reaction to our brain.
That's right.
Whereas there's another element of that, which is our soul, and it's deeper, and it comes in on a character or a soul level, and there's some things that cannot just be medicated away.
That's right.
You know, and
there's wounds. There's things I'm working on. I'll get hung up and I can feel it in my throat, and she can clear that.
Yeah.
It might be just my belief in it, but
who cares?
who cares?
Who cares?
Yeah,
Yep.
if that vitamin is going to get rid of my headache, I'll have 2 of those, please, because it's going to work. And I'll
Right.
take them, and it could be sugar pills. It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
I
If it
believe
works, it works,
It
yeah.
works. And so that's Reiki, right?
Yeah, it's the
Well,
it's the pushing of life force
I always look for
energy.
the truths in everything, right? There's carryover stuff that they teach in the Reiki and whatnot of how to control your mind and where everything is at that you'd find in the Stoic teachings,
Right.
Like there's generalized truths that you can. They use different language
Right.
and different,
And they call it different things, right.
But there is carryover amongst it, especially because it's an intellectual area, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Same thing with the Stoic area. And I would
You
say
sound
those
really
two are-
intellectual when you say the word intellectual, by the way.
Oh, well, thank you.
You say it very well.
Roll it through real nice. But there is carryover.
This
to
dude's
all this
unlocking.
stuff.
He's on the
can tell.
unlock mode. Like he's reading and journaling and doing the.
Is he?
He's doing the work, man.
Nice, dude.
We had a podcast called The Golden Nuggets, and I brought a lot of Georgisms. And
I
some-
listened to that.
Oh, you did?
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh. It was
Anyway,
great.
thanks, man.
Yeah.
Well, you probably you knew where I was coming from. Like I sound smart, but I'm just like, as George, I learned this from somebody else, and these things work. Truth is truth, right? It's amazing stuff, and so these guys are putting in the work. You're on day 42
42 today.
of journaling gratitudes.
Wow.
And doing the things like the steps along the way, and
Waking up at 4:30, like to do all this. Yeah, I'm a big fan.
That's
Huge big
badass,
fan.
dude.
Yeah.
That's badass. It's a refinement of your soul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you still do that? Are you still journaling?
Not that early. Oh, yeah. I still do like gratitude journals and put my 10-10. And remember the 10-10?
Yeah.
So you do 10 gratitudes and 10 things you want or you want to happen, right? So, I'm grateful for my family, grateful for my friends. I'm grateful for those things that you just need to identify every day. I'm so thankful for my little girls. I'm thankful I can, read them a bedtime story every night. So that you can identify your gratitudes. And then I do a meditation every day. It's called Tony Robbins. It's called Priming, and you can get it on YouTube. And it's just Tony Robbins Priming, and it's a 15-minute meditation that he takes you through, and it has breathing and physical movement
With the
arms.
Yeah. I
Just
remember
raising and
that.
lowering arms, and I do that every day, and that seems to reset me. Like if I'm in a bad place, if I want to be a really bitch, I don't do it, and I screw myself up for the day. But
Yeah, I don't have time for that.
I don't have time for that, and I'm
just
fucked
gonna-
for the rest of the day.
I'm going to be miserable all day. That's
Yeah.
my decision.
Yeah. But when I do that, it's phenomenal. It's just been amazing.
That's what I've noticed too. It's like putting the toolkit on for the day. You're putting your battle armor for the day.
Yes.
Yep.
Girding of the loin.
Yeah,
Yes.
that one.
Right. The whole armor of God.
Yeah.
God, I love you, man. I throw like these like esoteric quotes. He's like, "Oh wait, no. Here's 2 more lines from that."
Let's go deeper. Yes. Yea, verily.
Yay, verily. Well, cool. So here we are. We're along. We've talked about growing up in the cult. We've talked about leaving the cult. We've talked about these big jumps and growing up. That's kind of what I look at it like. I'm continually still growing up.
Growing up.
And I love that. I don't believe in the whole idea of growing up and adults, and so it's good to meet someone else. It's because I would have thought I'm 52. I would have thought by now.
You would
I would know
have some
more.
shit figured out.
I'd have it figured out.
The
more I learn, the less I know, and I, what's his name? It's a quote. It's a Stoic quote. It's just how it goes. The wiser you become, the less you know.
Yeah.
So where I'm headed with this is now we've gotten to a point where you have this wealth of knowledge. You're successful in real estate.
Right.
An average real estate agent in our world, well, even in this last year, 50% of all real estate agents haven't sold a single home yet, and we're at the end of November.
Oh my goodness.
An average real estate agent in the United States averages about $31,000 a year is their income. That's average and that's a 40-hour work week. And so I say that, and I don't say that proudly. It's embarrassing that we have so many practitioners in our industry that are doing so poorly.
It's hard because you have these, like you said, they're practitioners, and a lot of these people really know their craft, but they're just not succeeding on a high level. And really what it comes down to is your thoughts leading to your emotions. Your emotions equal your actions equal your results. And so if you can't get your thoughts in line and then get your emotions straight, you'll never act, you'll never create, and you'll never bring success. And I think that's what a lot of people are missing. They're not missing the skills.
The mechanics.
A lot of the mechanics are they already know them, but they're missing the emotional tune-up that they need every day in order to be successful. Because I've been rich and I've been poor, dude. Rich is much better.
Yeah.
And you put it in a good way on one of your other podcasts. You said there's hard, right? It's hard to be fat.
Yeah.
It's hard to be skinny.
Yeah.
It's hard to be rich.
Yeah.
It's hard to be poor. Pick your hard. And I can't remember, I don't know where you got that from, but I heard it on one of your podcasts. And I'm just like, dude, that makes perfect sense to me. All of this shit is hard.
Yeah.
So it's hard to be late on your mortgage.
Yeah.
But it's also hard to cold call and make money.
Yeah.
And so pick your hard, right?
Right.
Well said.
I needed this tonight, man. I'm like caught right between two places in Utah and Florida, and it's like, that transition mindset,
Well, let's talk about that. So you decided, we can't. You got so much I want to unpack
There's
with you, brother. So much. I want to talk about the Clozer Cult, and the reason that I was talking about real estate, being successful in real estate, and the national average of what people are doing. Alma is not doing that. He is closing regularly still. He's still doing business. You're still showing up. And to a point where now you've created an organization to help others get to the point of realizing that the thoughts become actions and actions become results.
Right.
And you're doing this at a high level, and that's the Clozer Cult. You have your own podcast, which, by the way, you should listen to.
Absolutely.
Yeah, some good stuff on
there.
there.
You want to give a plug real fast?
Yeah, it's just go on any of the platforms, and it's Clozer Cult, CLOZER CULT. I did Clozer because I didn't want people to think it was Closer Cult.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That could get confusing.
Yeah. So I wanted everybody to know it was Clozer with a Z. It identified perfectly. Fortunately, I have all those platforms, and it really was a calling. One night I was up at Louie's cabin, and I was doing breath work one night. Our friend Louie Hamner, and I'm trying to figure out what to do with my life because I've been selling real estate for almost 20 years. I know it like the inside of my freaking backside of my whatever, okay? And I just know it in and out. I've almost mastered most of the processes in selling homes. And so I'm like, okay, I know the next level of homes for me is high level investing, right? But I'm like, I have all this knowledge, and my calling is training, mentoring. That's my calling. And so I like to train rooms of people, and I've had the ability to do that over these last couple of years. But it all started with this one thought of being in a closer. Everybody calls me the closer. I had a closer license plate and all this stuff, right? So everybody's like, oh, you're the closer, right? Because I could get on the phone and set, 2 to 3 appointments out of every 5 people that I talk to. Just ridiculous numbers, stupid numbers. And I refined that from setting 1 appointment out of every 100 people I talk to. So I used to it would take 100 people. Now I'm doing it, I can still do it to this day. We could get on the phone. I've done it many a times in front of audiences and stuff like that. And I could literally get on the phone and just set appointments, cold calling people.
So let me just stop Alma here for 1 second. Getting on the phone and talking to a complete stranger about the largest financial decision of their life is already stressful.
Sure.
It's already stressful. Alma does it in front of a room of people. Like, he's putting his money where his mouth is. He's just like, watch this. And he gets on the phone. And I've prospected in front of my team and in front of other agents as I've been coaching. And it's a little nerve-wracking because they're listening to everything that you say, and your ability to overcome objections, your ability to
I'm back
connect.
asswards, though, man. It's nerve-wracking when I do it alone in my own quiet.
What?
Yes.
So he gets on the phone and he gets these people on.
But when I'm in front of a room with 200-300 people, it's not.
it's easy.
I 100% identify with that.
Do you?
When
Yeah.
I was a baseball player. If you put me up for lead off at an inning, nobody on, nobody out, my batting average was shit. You put me on 2 outs in the bottom of the ninth,
Yep.
no problem. I'm your guy.
Boom, baby. Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
So it's interesting to watch. It's interesting. I just think it takes a tremendous amount of courage, and it's interesting that your personality is just like, yeah, this is this is where I'm comfortable. I like it here.
Yeah.
In this level of chaos, I thrive.
Yeah, I just figured out I thrive.
Gotta have pressure on. So different like doing a homework assignment, right?
Yeah.
You know, it is
If it's
true.
not the final moment of the last hour, what are you
That's
doing?
true. Yeah. Yeah.
Also, when I've had people listening to me, I'm not afraid to throw down the big words, the big
Right.
asks, because
Yes.
You gotta show
I'm
up.
showing off a
Yeah.
little bit.
Well, and that's why it's accountability, right?
Yeah.
Because that's the problem is I've always had an accountability issue to myself. But when I make accountability contracts with other people, then I succeed on a higher level. If I'm shit when I'm making them with myself. I'll lie to myself back and forth. I'll talk
Negotiate
myself
yourself
out of it. I negotiate myself out of it. I'll change the whole plan of my day. If I don't have somebody telling me, look, this is what we agreed to, this is what you're doing, then I don't succeed on a high level. Accountability is critical.
It's critical. So who are you accountable to now?
My wife, which is sometimes good and sometimes absolute shit. Yeah.
She's terrifying. I'm going to tell you.
She's terrifying. She's a witch, you know?
I've only been around her a few times, and she is big energy. Like, there's no doubt. Like, when she walks in the room, you're like,
Yeah.
stuff's getting done. Stuff's about to go down.
Yeah, she's dead serious, man, and
Yeah.
she makes stuff happen.
Yeah,
you
she's
know?
amazing.
Actually, I should probably talk to you. I want to set an accountability contract with you. So, yeah.
I'd be down.
It's been a while since I've had one outside of like my team or my whatever.
Yeah, I'd be down to be that.
I have some goals I have to meet, and I don't trust myself to be able to do it unless
Fair.
I have a contract. Yeah.
You know, I would like to put some thought into something that I would like to bring back because I need that too.
Okay.
I absolutely do. And it's difficult. It feels to me like the more successful I become or the further up the road I go, the fewer people I'm willing to do that with.
Right.
And so this kind of a brotherhood is important to me as we have these conversations. And there's a couple of guys in the club that I can call and be like, okay, this is what's going down. And they're like, okay, you got this, but let's talk about it. You know what I mean? Let's do this. And so the accountability that you're talking about is next level. Like in the organization that we came from, that accountability made me really uncomfortable because there's no plan. There's no excuses.
Right.
There's
And
no.
sometimes it means thousands of dollars
Yeah.
if you don't achieve.
Oh wow.
You're writing a check and giving it to them. If this doesn't happen, then. If then, no. There's no. It's okay. We're having a no.
Yeah, you had an issue.
Had
It's
an off
okay.
day.
Yeah, you just had a bad day. No,
Yeah.
none of that, man. It's like, oh, you didn't accomplish it. Cool, give me my check.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I remember having thousands of dollars in checks that I would write to people, and some of them cashed them, and some of them they didn't cash.
Yeah. Ouch. Though
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you, some of those were just like that. I don't have that money.
I don't have the money. Yeah.
That's. I was counting to use that somewhere else, and
Jesus.
I dropped the ball. And come on, please. No.
I just feel like I'm dropping the ball on some stuff, so I just need somebody to be accountable to. I'm glad I recruited you right now
Yeah, I'm in.
with all the shit you have going on right now.
I got nothing going on.
Nothing. Yeah.
Oh man, can I just really quickly? I'm going to say in 2 days, we're going to feed 3,100 families here in Utah.
Wow.
And Alma, I'm throwing this kind of, it's like a reverse, like humble brag, but Alma showed up and he's delivered meals. You've done this before.
Yeah, several years. Yeah.
Several years in a row, and there's one year he did a video of like a really amazing experience that he had, and I've used this video a few times because it is really what it's about. It's about that connection. It's about meeting these people in their home.
Yeah.
And loving on them.
Yeah.
And it was cool. I'm glad that you've had a chance to be a part of this adventure that I'm doing.
It's kind of, it's just as much a gift to me as it is to the people that are receiving it, I think.
Right.
And if you look back at the times when you've had service in your life or somebody's really come to your aid, or I remember that when we were kids and just didn't have food, didn't have Christmas, whatever, and people came to our aid and bought us Christmas or paid for our food or whatever. And I remember that feeling because it was a lesson learned, and it was also like a determination that I'm never going to feel that. I don't ever want somebody else to feel that way, let alone my own children,
And even still, I remember the gratitude I had for those who did serve me.
Oh, totally.
And I think that's a good feeling, like going to know that I've made a difference. Like,
Yes.
this is something that when this little boy grows up, he will remember today.
Yeah.
He won't remember what he got for Christmas. He won't remember, his first day of the 3rd grade, but he will remember the day that Alma Merrill showed up with a box of food and dropped it right in their house, and there was a pumpkin pie and the whole thing in there.
Patted him on the head and walked out. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
total stranger. Like, what just happened?
Yeah.
That's cool. I'm glad that you're a part of it. Yeah, it's happening. And but after that, I got nothing going on.
Good. Let's sell some freaking houses,
So
man.
let's do some work. Oh man, good stuff. Well, so now we're to the point where we've accumulated this tremendous wealth of knowledge. We've had the false confidence, and then we had success. Now we've built real confidence, and now we have these models, and you're sharing this with these other agents.
Right.
And the Clozer Cult, the podcast. What else is happening with this?
So Clozer Cult is, and a lot of people are like, oh, are you a coach? Do you coach one-on-one? I actually don't do one-on-one coaching. I train many at a time, and I'll train brokerages and groups of brokerages. And so, there's been times when I've trained, from brokerages, 12, 14 different brokerages, or sometimes bigger, more, different types of brokerages. But it's the methods that I use are primarily on, yes, I talk about mindset. I talk about developing skills, and then actually executing on those things. But I don't just talk about it, I actually do it. And so that's what sets, I think, me apart from any of the other coach/trainers out there, with the exception of Ricky Carruth, which is amazing. He's awesome. He will do some of those live calls and show the stuff. He'll put the proof into the pudding. I would say the difference is that I teach people specifically how to do it quickly and effectively execute right now instead of taking 10 years to learn it. I teach people, Tony Robbins talks about modeling, and he says, look, you can go do something that I do like that. You don't have to learn it over the last 25, 35 years like I have.
I've
If
done
I
that.
tell you how to do it, model it, do what I tell you to do, and make it happen. And so that's what I tend to do on the Clozer Cult side, is that I teach people, look, this is your tone, this is your rate of speech, this is your response, this is your script. And if you do these things, you'll have success. And I've taken groups of people like that and caused hundreds of appointments to be set in those groups of people. So
I'm not casting doubt, but you have a natural skills and abilities that can't be taught.
actually, they're not natural. That's the thing. They weren't natural. When I first started this, I would set one appointment for every 100 people that I spoke to. So every single one of these skills were learned. It wasn't natural. Do I have a natural ability to communicate with people? Maybe a little bit because of all the shit I had to do. But again, I had to learn how to talk to people too. When I was a kid and I couldn't read and I couldn't write, and I had to get around situations or manipulate the way people wanted me to respond. And maybe that helped, but it wasn't natural. That was also learned. It didn't come to me.
That's the biggest sign of somebody
know?
that actually knows what they're talking about, is to be able to take 25 years of figuring this out, and I'm going to give it to you in one sentence. If you just follow that one sentence, I promise you it's going to work.
Do it this way.
Do it this way.
Yeah, do likewise.
Right.
Yeah, yes.
It's a big deal. That Einstein said that.
Really?
If you truly know something, you can explain it very simply and very pointedly.
Yeah, well, it reminds me of like Elon Musk, right? He's in this interview. Maybe you guys have seen it, right? And he's talking to this guy, and they're out with the rockets. Do you remember?
Yep.
He's out in the rockets, and this guy goes, "Okay, so you use this cooling method for the stage whatever rockets, right?" And he goes, "Yeah." And he goes, "So you also do that with the main thrusters too, right?" And he goes, "Well, no, actually, come to think of it, we don't do it that way. But actually,
That would make a better
I
model.
think that makes more sense. I think we're going to start doing it that way. And I'm like
real life.
this suggestion live, and he changes this entire.
That same guy went back a year later,
and
he's
doing
like,
it.
yeah, totally, best idea we've ever had not in the room.
and literally, you suggested it while we were live on camera, But that's a token to Elon Musk's ability to go, hey, I've been wrong in the past. I'm sure I'll be wrong again in the future. Guess what? I'm okay being wrong, and this is the way to do it. And so I learned that, one of the great things that George Morris taught me too is he said, it's okay to be wrong. Just seek truth.
Yeah. Don't keep being wrong.
Don't keep being wrong.
Yeah.
If you find truth and you find what actually works, go use that thing, And so the Clozer Cult is really just an organization basically encompassing all of those things that I've learned over the last almost 20 years, and then just putting them to play. Like, I can't teach you about investing. Okay, I'm not very good at it. Okay, but I can't teach you about paperwork, right? I can't. I have a buddy who owns Real Estate B School, right? And Lars Hendenberg, and he knows business of real estate, numbers, figures, all this crap. Those are the types of people that do that stuff for me. I can teach you how to say and speak to people that causes them to feel rapport, feel better about working together, reduces their risk of working with you and saying yes to your invitation to come meet with them.
So the market that, just to be clear, the market that we've just come out of and we will be going back into, a lot of people were selling their homes on their own. They could just put up a sign in their front yard and they could sell the home, and they didn't understand the value of hiring a professional to represent them and all of that part. I'm a huge believer in if I'm going to fix my motorcycle, I'm going to hire the right guy with the tools. You know what I mean? And I feel that way about real estate, doctors.
Mm-hmm.
It's a no-brainer for me.
Yeah.
But the people that you're calling, they don't have that perspective. They believe that they're doing the right thing by saving money and by selling the house on their own, and they don't need representation. And so you are calling someone that has the mindset that you are not of value.
Right.
And he's doing that in front of hundreds of people. Think about the marbles it takes to do that. It's amazing to me. Some of the hardest phone calls I've ever made. That's actually not a pool that I swim in, because it's just not something I enjoy doing. I do something else for my business,
right?
Which I'm good at that, and I'm going to stay in that area. But mad respect in that regard, because I've heard you on the phone. I've heard you have these phone calls, and you ask the question that isn't saying, "Well, you're dumb to do it that way,"
right?
Which is how most people approach it.
Right.
And so you have a completely unique style of changing thoughts. There's not a convincing that's happening. It's
persuasion, right?
It's persuasion.
It's not manipulation. It's persuasion. I always ask people, what's the difference?
Intent.
Your intent, exactly.
Was that right?
You're right, 100%.
Yeah.
It's your intent. The difference between manipulation and persuasion is your intent.
Yeah.
So if my intent is to serve and to love and to show a positive, solid, amazing, beneficial outcome to those people, then it's persuasion. It's not manipulation. If my intent is to go get a commission and, this is a $40,000 commission for me, that's manipulation.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's the 1 in 100 phone call conversion.
Right.
That's
Yes,
the difference.
exactly. That is the difference.
Yeah.
Because they can smell it when you get on the phone.
Immediately.
Subconsciously.
You're almost like not even through your hi, my name is. They're dropping the hammer on you. So I much appreciation in that. If you have an opportunity, and I want to go now. I'm in the business. I want to learn more about the Clozer Cult. Where would I go to learn more?
So go to Clozer Cult on Instagram. Go to Clozer Cult on YouTube. Those are the places to go.
To find that.
Yep. And you can message me on Instagram. I'm super responsive. I have thousands of people that message me on there. Some of my videos have gone mini viral, which is cool. 120, 130,000 views. Oh, wow. So it's starting to grow. But I just started Clozer Cult a little over a year ago.
Yeah.
And I started doing a podcast at the same time because my buddy Jimmy Rex suggested, look, if you're doing this, you need to do a podcast at the same time. And he was like, you have to do audio and video at the same time. If you're building your company, do a podcast with it. I'm like, why? He goes, because your connections that you make with people will be so valuable in your growth. It'll blow your mind. He's like, it's not about making money. It's about growing connections and who you become, because who you become will provide how much you make. So I was like, whoa.
And that's the best way that it's been put.
And here we are.
Why we're here.
And here we are.
Yep. I advise anyone to do a podcast because it's your story, right?
Yeah.
It's your presentation. It's your perspective.
Your delivery.
Your delivery.
Yeah. Oh man. So now we have the Clozer Cult, and you've been in Utah since. Well, you lived in California for a while. You lived in New Mexico for a while. Now you're moving to Florida.
Yeah.
What the hell?
So my wife and I we've rattled the Florida can around a few times because we love it there. We love the environment. I grew up in California, beach community or beach environment. She grew up in North Carolina, beach environment. So we both grew up on different coasts. We're like, where do we want to retire? And we both said Florida. I would retire in Florida. And I'm like, okay, why are we waiting till retirement to go live where we ultimately want to live? We're totally mobile. I fly. I can get on an airplane, be wherever I want 4 or 5 hours in the United States. Why wouldn't I actually exist in the place that I most desire to be? I love the air. I love the heat. I love the streets, the freeways. I love the trees.
The food.
The food. I love everything about Florida. Why am I not living where I love?
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, I don't like shoveling snow. I'm not a winter guy. I don't,
You don't ski.
I don't ski very much. I haven't skied for 20 plus years. I've snowboarded once in the last 20 plus years. Like, Utah's not my place ultimately. And so I'm going to go live in the environment that I choose.
I like that.
Yeah. So we're
that a
selling.
lot.
We put everything on the market, dude. I've sold up all the cars I didn't need to drag across the country. I've sold everything that I don't want to take with me, and the house is on the market. And so if anybody wants a $2.2 million property in Draper, let's go.
Bring that buyer now.
Yeah. Let's go. Dude, I'm ready. Yeah.
That's amazing. I've been kicking Florida around quite a bit myself. Annie and I, we've been shopping in Cape Canaveral, right over there by NASA.
Yeah. Over by Cocoa Beach over there. Yeah.
A little bit further north, right? Because I like, I'm more rural. I really like I like the country, man.
Yeah.
I want to be close enough that I can go do some cool stuff.
Yeah.
Go see a basketball game if I want.
Right.
But I also want to live out there where people are calling you sir.
Yeah.
And
I'll be out north. I'll be north of Orlando, which
Yeah.
is that north central center, of Florida. So,
And
Yeah, I'd
being
like
from
that.
Utah, it's 71 degrees down there, and so is the water. I'm out there swimming.
Right.
Right.
Where the rest of the Floridians got their jackets on, not me, man.
Yeah, dude.
I would.
What is it, like 50 degrees right now? And it's like in Florida right now, it's probably 83.
Yeah.
What is the weather in Florida?
What does it say?
Oh, I have airplane mode on.
Well, that's an amazing idea. So when you're in Florida, you're going to continue to work on the podcast. You're going to
Yep.
continue to build the group
business.
coaching business.
Yep.
And moving forward, where do you see yourself in a year?
In 1 year, I see a lot more large event training. So I've actually done a ton of that already. I just did one down in Vegas. I've done multiples in California. And these are group brokerage trainings. So I'll have like either a brokerage or title companies will bring me in, and I'll have all these other companies there from different title companies, and different brokerages, and then like I'm the kickoff speaker here in Utah for the Women's Association of Realtors here in Utah.
wow.
That's a wild crowd.
Yeah, they're a wild crowd. So I'm the kickoff speaker for their 2024, which I'm stoked about.
Wow.
So I find myself in 1 year speaking to many and training many and bringing these skills and these processes to individuals, because I see that the market is shifting, and this is going to be a skilled-based market. It's not going to be about who you know. It's going to be about how you can convert people to working with you.
Interesting.
You should still do who you know.
It's a big deal.
But if your SOI is drying up, this is why you need to learn the skills in order to be able to convert people you don't know to buy real estate.
As an outsider, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
I mean, people aren't talking to each other anymore. That's going downhill.
Yeah.
And it is more about function and what you can do and how you're going to help.
Yeah, and here's the thing: people are always getting married. They're always getting divorced. They're always losing a job. They're always getting a job. They're always moving. They're always moving into town. They're moving out of town. Right? People are always adjusting their lives. So real estate will always be sold in any market. It doesn't matter. But you won't know every one of those people, and the percentage amount of people that are doing those things has changed. And so you have to be able to be skilled enough to get on the phones and put yourself in front of those transactions, whether you know them or not. And if you're doing that and their brothers and sisters who used to be in real estate aren't calling them and aren't doing that, then you're going to be the one that they choose. Every single person that I have listed has a relative, a brother, a sister-in-law, an aunt that's a real estate agent, and they work with me because I'm the one who put myself in front of the transaction, not them.
Makes sense. Makes perfect sense.
Man, I need this tonight too. This is good stuff, brother. Thank you. 5 years. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
5 years will be, wow, that's going to be cool, man. I'm excited for 5 years. So ultimately, I'll have my property out in Florida. It'll be what I want it to be as far as how it looks and how it feels. I'll have my friendship group. Clozer Cult will be on a much greater level and grander. Thousands upon thousands of people attending the events. That will be, I will feel amazing at that point. Like, we're seeking feelings, right? And we seek moments. Like, if we look at all the most important experiences in our life, they happened in moments.
Yeah.
You know, that incredible, the wedding, the birth of the child, that job, that career change, that adjustment to your income, that big giant sale or deal that you did. Those were what you remember about those were the moments when you felt that experience. And I'm excited to feel that moment when Clozer Cult gets to that point, because I do have this vision of 3,000-4,000 people in the room, and
very clear picture.
Yeah, very clear picture.
I love that. Let's just say then, if you could, Alma, look back at the Alma that's just getting into the business, that young man who's just kind of putting it together, kind of figuring it out.
Yeah.
What would you tell him?
Oh man. First of all, don't be so serious. Don't be so serious.
Calm down, bro.
Calm the freak down.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember getting lightheaded thinking about how much money I was going to make on a deal, right?
Yeah.
If you can change and adjust the way you think about the deal, it's not about you. So stop being so serious.
Yeah.
Be their friend, be their confidant, help them, serve them, and then let them close the deal, and then collect your commission when it's done and count it after. You know, I used to get so freaked out when I would do a deal and I'm like, oh dude, this means 10 grand. That would pay my rent for whatever, right? You got to cut that off. You have to be unattached to the outcome of every deal. Once you get to that point, your business will explode.
Man, and that's true in everything.
Yes.
That's true in every area. In your coaching business, in Thanksgiving's Heroes, the minute I get out of that space, away we go. It
explodes, yeah.
But then I keep coming back and, I'm going to negotiate the price of the boxes now, and that doesn't matter. Off we go, you know what I mean?
Yep.
It's this crazy energy of consciousness and manifesting, and it just flows in, and then I close up, and then it opens up again, and that's amazing.
What would our wives say? You need to get in flow or something, or in state.
Get in the vortex.
Yeah, get in the vortex. Yeah.
So that's all good things. Now, as we're kind of bringing the podcast to an end, we've talked about a big range of things. What is something important that we haven't talked about that we need to know about Alma?
I don't know what most people know. And what I mean by that is, like, I'm not as big as everybody thinks I am. I just speak some truth, not all truth. I don't know how to do everything. And I think that's important to know, that you don't know how to do everything. And that if you're good at something, exploit the shit out of it.
Be good at it.
Be good as fuck.
Yeah. Be
at
the best.
what you're good. Be the best at what you're at.
Yeah.
Like I remember I was like, I was overthinking Clozer Cult, right? And I'm like, okay, I'm not very good at this or this or this, right? And I'm like, I don't really have to be good at those things. That's not me. That's not what it is. Clozer Cult is not everything. It's just something.
Yeah, a thing.
It's a thing. It's not everything.
Yeah.
And so I'm not going to teach people how to flip houses and work with buyers, right? I hate fucking working with buyers, dude. Like I let my wife do it. She loves it. She's amazing at it. So I would say that's something that I think people need to know, is that I don't know everything. I've had years where I was rich as hell, and I've had years after that I was poor as hell. It hasn't been this super clean, smooth, all the way to the top. Yeah, let's go. it's been like a challenge learning this stuff and digging through this shit.
Yeah.
And you refine yourself and change yourself every few years into someone new, and it enables you to open up this new space of knowledge, and then you move into that next section. I'm just barely getting into investments, dude. I've been selling real estate for 20 years, and I skipped my first investment. And I'm like barely stepping into the investment arena because all I've done is feed my business through expireds and for sale by owners, and then had a pretty decent return on my sphere of influence that I created.
Yeah.
And so
But that's not sustainable.
it's not sustainable.
Sustainable is something that's going to give you money
That's right.
when you're not there.
Yeah, and I look at that. I'm like, dude, I'm late to the game, right? No, I'm just in my game, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I'm not late to the table. I'm not late to the investment game. I'm just doing it at my level and at my pace. There's a lot of refinement that happens. I've had a lot of shit go down in my life and in my family. I've gone through 2 marriages. There's all this stuff. It's okay to be on your pace and on your schedule. It's okay.
Wisdom right there.
It's okay not to have everything you thought you would have by this age.
Yeah.
Because you can have all of. I plan to live to 100, dude. I'm not even halfway there yet.
112, that's my number.
Really, 112?
Yeah.
Badass,
Yeah,
dude.
I got to figure it out.
Dude, you're gonna beat me.
Wait,
how old are you? How old are you?
52.
52. Yeah, I'm 44. So
At the same time, we'll check out.
yeah, we'll check out, dude. See you at the pearly gates, my friend.
They swing, they don't roll, just so you know. Oh, God. That's good. That is good. Well, the last point, you're talking about comparing, criticizing, and judging. These are the words that we've used. We've skirted around this the whole time. And here you are in a place that you've given up comparing. I'm not going to compare myself to this other investor. I'm on my time.
Yeah.
I'm judging. We've talked a lot about that. How are you staying centered? What are you doing? Is it this morning activity is really the key?
It starts when you wake up, man.
Yeah.
That's what are you thinking about, And oftentimes, you can't control the first thought that comes into your mind, but you can control the second.
Ooh, man.
And the third and the fourth, and then you can get into meditation, and then you can go have your ice bath, and then you can have whatever it is that you need to do to get to center yourself. But I've learned that, man. Sometimes I wake up and my thoughts are shit.
Yeah.
My first thought is shit, and then I'm like, okay, but I got to readjust. So I can't control the first, but I can control the second, and so on.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, listen, fans, number one, thank you for being a part of our podcast. This has been...
Dude, this went way out of, this was completely out of hand tonight, by the way.
Yeah. We covered a lot of ground. We did. I'm grateful that you were able to come in. I knew that this was going to be a good podcast because I've never had a conversation with you that was boring. Never
Me too,
have.
man.
It's
I've
been good.
I've loved knowing you and being a part of your life.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I feel honored to be a part of your life.
Same. Feel that. Brother. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe, share this podcast, click on the button, click on the thumbs up. This is wisdom here. This was good for me, and I hope it was good for you too. Please tell your friends and family and become part of the American Masterminds as we're growing and learning together. Tune in next week when we bring you more information that's going to make your life better. Thank you, Alma Merrill. Thank you.
Thank you, Alma.
Everyone, for being
Very
here.
powerful.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you for having me on.